What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so I'll put a link to this article in the pinned comment in the comment section below. And this particular article is showing an average of, I believe, a multitude of polls that have been taken recently, and is ranking the candidates according to these polls. And according to these polls, Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, who is of course seeking a second term, if he was to be elected, he'd be only the second president to serve non-consecutive terms, the first being Grover Cleveland. But even though Donald Trump is polling very, very well, I caution people on jumping to the conclusion that this is just a long, drawn-out, eventual coronation of King Donald the First for another run for the presidency. I caution people on that because in politics, 6 months is an eternity. This is June. I don't think the first primaries are until January, I believe. I believe it's in January or the very last days of December. I can't remember how the calendar is set this time, but we still got another. This is June, yes. So we got another 7 months until the primaries, and then as the process goes on and more candidates drop out, and the remaining supporters of that candidate consolidate behind another candidate, we just don't know exactly how these things are going to play out. But let me read some of these numbers. So, right now, Donald Trump's poll numbers are great, but I caution that these are pre-indictment numbers. He has an polling average of 53.2%, which is well ahead of second place Ron DeSantis, who's at 22.4%. Everyone else they're not even close. They're not even close. Nikki Haley is at 4.4% national polling. Vice President Mike Pence, or former Vice President Mike Pence, he's at 3.8% average polling. And Vivek Ramaswamy, I think it's his name, Ramaswamy, whatever, 2.6%. Tim Scott, 1.6%. Asa Hutchinson, less than 1%. Chris Christie, 1%. And when it comes to Joe Biden, the incumbent president, his polling average is at 59.3% to 16.8% for RFK. But considering that RFK isn't getting any media exposure and he's close to 20%, is a bit alarming. Now, I still expect Joe Biden to win the nomination, but I wonder where RFK is going to hold up at and how long his campaign is going to manage, because the mainstream media is going to ignore him because Biden is their guy. He's the corporate candidate of choice. But I want to focus on the GOP race. I don't think Chris Christie has a real shot, but there is something that the Young Turks brought up that was a real point, a real good point. Even though Chris Christie is polling at 1%, he's getting a lot of national exposure on the perceived left and right. Really, the corporate media, Fox and CNN. He's all over the place. So what that's telling people, if you pay attention to this, is that the mainstream media don't want Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump was the darling of 2016 media. As much as Donald Trump despises the media, if you recall, they gave him a lot of free publicity back in 2016, interviewing him, talking about him. And after every victory, talking about him more and more and more and helping his campaign gain the momentum necessary to get the prerequisite amount of delegates for the Republican nomination back in 2016. But right now, and this is before the indictment, the latest indictment, which is a more serious indictment than the prior one, they don't want him. They don't want him back. They want an establishment, comfortable corporate candidate. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I think that they're going to back anybody who has the cojones to go against this guy. And right now, even though historically, like I said, fat guys don't get nominations, but one thing that Chris Christie does have going for him is that he's really the only candidate out there that's really coming back at Trump. He's not kissing his butt. You know what I'm saying? He's not, just attacking him from a moralistic standpoint. That doesn't work. What will work, if Chris Christie was to strike lightning, which is a slim chance of that, is labeling Trump a loser, which is something he despises and something that rankles him. He doesn't care if you call him amoral. He knows he's amoral. But Trump is very sensitive about being called a loser, which he is. I mean, let's face it. He won in 2016, but he lost the popular vote. Then in 2018, it was a blue wave. Then in 2020, he lost re-election. And then in 2022, the Republicans underperformed largely because of the focus on Donald Trump, and all but one of his hand-picked candidates lost. So the record states that this guy's a fucking loser. And also I want to talk about his 53% polling average. Once you creep under 50% as a frontrunner, you're entering some danger territory when you don't have that solid majority. And even a 50+% solid majority in polling this far off is no guarantee. I remember Hillary Clinton in 2007 was polling like 60, close to 70% against Barack Obama and John Edwards at one point. Right? She was polling maybe similar numbers at this juncture back in 2007 with Obama and John Edwards. Remember, John Edwards was once the second tier candidate. Obama was a distant third. But ultimately, we know who won the race. And then in 2016, Hillary had a bigger margin, much bigger margin over Bernie Sanders than Trump has over his field right now. I remember one poll had Hillary Clinton at 77% support national in 2015. Bernie Sanders was at 3%. Bernie Sanders wound up winning 24 states in the primaries. And it was a much closer than expected primary race. So what I'm saying is, Trump is in a very good position right now, but I think whoever the mainstream corporate media pushes is going to be an establishment candidate. It might be Chris Christie. Maybe, I don't know, Ron DeSantis switches up and gets some balls and then comes after Trump. But I don't think he has the moxie to do that. And plus, anyway, he's Trump light anyway. So his support may fizzle. We just never know. Right now, if I was betting on it, I would say Trump's going to get the nomination. But don't be surprised if things don't go the way that we planned, because that's the nature of politics. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that one. Tell me what you guys think.